We are going to cover a few advanced concepts of PRD. So in the previous, we are going to see what has been covered in the last module as well. So before that, let me set the objective for today's sessions. We're going to cover data source connection. We're going to cover query designer. We're going to cover working with group. Then how to pass the parameter to the report. We're going to cover one basic formula and designing reports with sub-reports. And at the end, we are going to cover API-based report. So using SDK of reporting engine. So PRD supports different data sources like JDBC we talked about. OLAP is denormalized data. It's the engine of typically JDBC data source you are going to use for transactional operation, whereas the other data model is online analytical processing. So if you want to generate reports out of it, then you will go for OLAP. Again, OLAP we have already covered in the first module, ROLAP and MOLAP. Mondrian is supporting ROLAP. Mondrian is Pentaho's offering. Then metadata. So you can have some metadata like Pentaho has PME Pentaho Metadata Editor. So you can connect to that and use that information for your reporting. Then ETL. So Kettle is nothing but PDI. So far we haven't covered PDI, but if you have prepared a ETL job using Kettle, using PDI, then you can connect to that PDI job through data source. Then CDA, common data access. So if you have configured, so CDE, CDF, community data framework, is a framework which is developed by community, mainly owned by Web Details. So Web Details is one company who's right now officially become part of Pentaho, but previously they were a separate vendor for Pentaho, and they used to build a lot of tools, add-ons for Pentaho. So CDA is one of the offering from them. It is again one abstract layer of connector, and behind the scene it will in turn connect to different data sources. But from Pentaho, if you want to connect to that end data source, then CDA would be one connector choice for your data. And other than this, there are other data sources like so the MongoDB and big data related stuff. For this module, we are going to cover JDBC. So we will be establishing JDBC connection. We'll see what are the steps, configuring that JDBC connection, and then we're going to use it, consume and pull the data from RDBMS. And we're going to use MySQL as a database. So there are mainly two ways when it comes to JDBC. You might, those who have already worked on Java in data layer, those guys would be familiar with. So JDBC has native support and JDBC JNDI data source. So as a part of curriculum, you learn JDBC, then you learn JNDI. How do you say configure JNDI using JDBC driver, and then how do you connect to JNDI? But practically, which one is recommended? Is it JNDI and JDBC, and why? Practically, definitely JNDI has much upper hand. Oh, I see some response. It's JNDI, correct. That's right, Somesh. So practically, you will always go for JNDI, and the reason is in JDBC, native JDBC, you will always have to give name, username, password, and URL. Whereas in JNDI, it is externalized. So all these credentials, hostname is externalized in JNDI connection. So if it is Java, typically you will configure in, and if it is Java application, you configure it in context.xml or in MetaNF you will configure it. If you want that JNDI to be local to your your web application. In Pentaho, there are, for Kettle it is different configuration, for PDA it is different configuration. So for PRD we will see in next slides. If you are using Windows, then you can have connection shared through ODBC. So that's the third channel. Basically, how do you establish connection? Now again, this is not too widely used channel, but because Windows is that way pretty popular OS as far as personal usage is concerned, so ODBC option is still there. But typically on production environments, if you are using Windows, then probably you 95% of the time you are not going to use JDBC. But if you are using Java-based application, then you will be using Linux-based servers. Yeah, for our courses, we are going to use MySQL, and you would need to download JDBC driver for MySQL, and that JDBC driver needs to be copied in PRD home lib JDBC. So JDBC is a pre-defined folder in PRD home lib. So that's where you are going to dump that driver. So make sure you guys download latest driver. It is 5.1.33. Typically, if you go for older driver, so yeah, of course there is a compatibility issue, and which MySQL version you are using, it also depends on that. Current version is 5.6.x, so I believe it is 5.7. So if it is 5.5 and you are using older driver than 5.5, then it may not match, and at runtime you may not be able to execute the queries. So just to avoid that, better to use latest driver, because latest driver will have up to certain extent backward compatibility. Now we are going to, for our example, we are going to cover one small example, which is data which is coming from, again, public data source. So there is a site openflights.org, and they are maintaining flights related data. So let me click and then we'll quickly glance at that site. And I have downloaded that data from this site, and we're going to first import it in our MySQL. Okay, so for this particular session, we're not going to import. That import will be covered in PDA, because that's where ETL kicks in. So right now, you can download the data, and this is TDT file. You will have to create a structure of data tables and import it. So there are conventional ways. You can opt for those conventional ways, and you can import that data, and that database, in fact, in LMS you will find one SQL file. So just import the SQL file. You don't need to worry about how many tables and what type of data. This is just for your reference for today, that we are going to use this particular data. But for your example purposes for PRD, you can just import that SQL file and connect to that data source. So this is the data, and there are various ways you can use it. Real time, so yeah, these are all the airports which are denoted by these red dots. So all airports, all airlines, and all timings are available with them. So it's pretty fantastic data available here in the public domain. So you can download, the link is given, JDBC driver, you can download from this site. Again, this is a LMS site. and 5.1.23 is the version of that JDBC. I'm not going to download it now. Now we'll go over how to establish the JDBC connection. Now let me first you open the PRD, open blank page, blank report. So just click on new, and here we go. So this is blank empty report. Now select the data tab. So go to the data tab. So there are two ways. Either you can right click on dataset and then from here JDBC, or you can click here and add data source. So before we come here, there are a set of guidelines how to install MySQL and how to import that SQL file. So that SQL file is also distributed, available. That is already been available. Assumption is that those steps are already done. For simplicity, I am going to show you. So I have logged in with Edureka user and open flight. This is the data which I have imported, and these are the tables. So airline, airport, and route. So these are the three tables, main tables. The rest of the two tables you can see basically they will be used in next modules. Now we came on this. Okay, let me restart. So in case you might have lost the track. So right click on datasets, click on JDBC, and that will land you to JDBC data source dialog. Now here you'll have to first create connection. On the left pane you can see connections. Here there's one pencil icon. So if you will go and select any connection, then that will enable and you can edit it. So this is the existing configuration of sample data MySQL. Now we're going to add new connection. So it's a plus sign. It's a again common icon across all Pentaho products. And okay, so let's quickly visit our slides. So we already covered this. Let's go to this. So these all icons are explained on this slide. So first is edit connection, then plus, green plus is add connection. You can remove the connection. Then again on the right side, so on the left side you are going to add JDBC data source. It can be JDBC, native JDBC or JNDI. On the right side you are going to write the queries. So available queries is the top pane where you will see the list of available queries. On top of that pane you can see again green plus button, using which you can add new queries, then you can remove existing queries, and if you will just select that query will get selected at the bottom and you can edit it. Here at the bottom pane you can see one pencil icon. So that is basically graphical query builder. Yes, you can add. So Madhu is asking whether we can add more than one data sources. Definitely yes, Madhu, you can add more than one data sources. And that's where basically sub-reporting concept kicks in. So if you want to add, you're getting data from multiple feeders, then you can combine them. You can have sub-reporting and you can merge the data accordingly. That is going to be very smart design. At design time, you'll have to take a right decision how to merge that data, because one field is coming from one data source second would be coming from second data source. So you'll have to map it correctly. So at the bottom pane, above bottom pane, you can see a pencil icon. So that is that will take you to SQL Designer. So Query Builder, which is GUI tool. So now we will create one connection. Okay, we had already clicked on, let me restart. So we are going to click on plus. So we are adding new connection. Now we are going to click on MySQL. I have already copied the driver. So you will have to do that in your environments. So select MySQL. You can see at the bottom access pane, there are three options. So native, ODBC, JNDI, as we talked about all those three. Now first, just to demonstrate, we will select native JDBC. Let's give the name. Okay, did I give any name here? This is, so edit security is so if you want to provide parameters containing different database connections, authentication credentials, so you can have it in a security configuration. So you just click on edit security, it will pop you one dialog, and you will have to type username and password. So we will use that and click on OK. So this username and password will be available at the time of as a security parameter when you are creating report. Now we will establish new JDBC connection. So select MySQL, and name the connection, name the connections. So as we have seen already, there are multiple connections on the left side, sample data, then sample data hypersonic. So all sample data related stuff is coming out of box along with the distribution. If you want, you can play with that data as well. And that is one automobile industry data, and which has pretty much all the use cases covered. Day-to-day practical scenarios are covered. So now we are going to cover, so open flights connection is what name given in the example, and we are going to key in these settings. So rather than test, we will say open flights connection, and in the host name, in my case it is localhost. In your case, in case you are using some MySQL server which is running in your environment, then you will have to use that host IP or that host DNS name. In case you are running some virtual machine, then you can use that virtual host ID. Database name, which is open flights. Port number, again default is 3306. If it is customized, go for your customized one. Username, so it is Edureka is the one I have kept. So you, as part of MySQL configuration, you will have to create this user as well. And before we say okay, we can test. Boom. So it is creating issue. Oh, so it seems I haven't copied the driver. So I will copy it. Okay, I will have to download. Seems where was the link? Here's the link. So you are supposed to copy the driver under, this is my PRD home, and then in PRD home lib, under lib there is JDBC. So these are existing JDBC drivers already. By the way, this reminded me, so in our previous session somebody was asking, can we use NoSQL for Mondrian? So the answer is yes, we can use, and there is a project which is in incubator status. Okay, so Madhu had asked that question. Yes, Madhu. So we can use that, and right now still the project is in incubator status. If you guys are aware of Apache projects, how do they work? So typically anybody can start a new project that will initially be in incubator status, then it will get graduated to next level, and then top level project, so which is then GA, generally available. So there is a project called Optic, is the project name, OPTIQ, and these guys are trying to build SQL based layer on top of NoSQL database. So once you get that SQL interface using JDBC, that's it. So that is what is required for Mondrian. So although it is going to be challenging, especially when aggregation comes into picture, but at preliminary level, preliminary operations you can perform. So this project, you can download its binary or download the source code build using Optic project. You can establish the connection of NoSQL using JDBC route, and you can use it in your Mondrian. So meanwhile, let's copy this folder, this jar file under JDBC. So this is the path. I have selected PRD home in my case, which is d:/Pentaho. So typically I copy all the Pentaho related stuff under Pentaho folder. So in my case, Pentaho is one extra folder, and then report designer is my PRD home. In your case, it may be different. And under PRD home, there is a lib folder, under lib JDBC folder, and that's where you're going to copy your driver, JDBC driver. Now, once you copy the JDBC driver, you need to restart PRD. So I'm going to you can start report designer.bat because I'm on Windows. On Linux, you guys can install, you can start .sh. So it is asking me new report. I don't want it. and we are going to open new blank report. Yeah, so we are going to add data source. We added JDBC driver. Now we will add new connection. We'll give the name open flights connection. Then the host name is localhost Edureka. Password is Edureka. Oh, sorry, this is database name. Database name is open flights. Port number is 3306. Oh, sorry, I haven't selected MySQL. That's why, otherwise it will by default select that 3306. Now username is Edureka, password is Edureka, and native JDBC, and then now we're going to test it. Boom. So you can see the first line, connection to database open flights connection is okay. If it is not okay, then it will give error message. Let's say we remove the S, it won't find database, and it will give error message. Now this is a JDB Java based application. They are dumping all the stack trace here. It would have been better if they could have given error. Probably will need to contribute for that. But yeah, sometimes it is good for debugging, because it tells you exactly what is the issue. So unknown database, and you can check what is the database name, whether database name is the issue or you are connecting to wrong database. So that helps. So we have hit S, and then we are going to click on OK. So open flights connection is the name. And so here we have added all the settings related parameters. We have tested it, and it has said OK, and we can click on final OK. Okay, we already have that connection here, open flight connection. Okay, it seems there are two duplicate, so we are going to remove. This was for demonstration purpose, and we can see exactly what are the parameters we had keyed in. So this is open flights connection. This was existing connection which I had configured for JNDI. Now we are going to check what are the steps in establishing connection for JNDI. We have already seen for JDBC. Now we'll see for JNDI. So in the previous session we were I talked about that .pentaho folder which is getting created in your user home. So user home typically in your C : user home, and these are different folders from created from different applications. So .kettle is from PDI, default properties. You're going to capture JNDI connections. So just open. I'm using Notepad++, which is my favorite editor. And here you will have to add open flights related configuration parameters. So this is what I have added here. Open flights is the name of the JNDI. So open flights / type. Then you are going to give what type of database, what type of source it is. So it is SQL data source. Then driver. So you are going to mention MySQL driver. Then okay, here I will have to change the username as Edureka. Password as Edureka, and this is your URL, JDBC connection URL, connection string. You'll have to save it. You'll have to, again, any change in the properties file, core properties file, PRD needs restart. So in my case, yeah, so previously whatever credentials I had given, those are still valid, so it will work. So I am not going to restart, but we will quickly test if this connection is working. So open flights underscore connection is the name. Open flights is the JNDI name which we have configured here. This is the name, and we are going to, and don't forget to select JNDI. See, you select native, it changes the input parameter sets. So you should select JNDI, open flights, and we will test. And you can see the first string, connection to database, okay. Now we can see here this connection, whatever connections we are going to add, all gets piled up here on the left side. Now we'll use Query Designer. So there is a built-in way, in case you're not familiar with SQL, then Pentaho gives you a feature wherein you can just drag and drop based on your requirement tables and columns. So we'll go to, you add one query. By default it is Pentaho is giving them query 1, and then here in static query, rather than you typing anything, just hit this edit button, and this is SQL Query Designer. Let me resize it to max so that we get a better view. Here on the left side, bottom pane, you can see the tables listed from open flights, the database. On the top left side, you can see the query. So far, it is not, it is under development phase. On the right side, you can see the black workspace where we are going to drop the tables. Now here in the example, we are going to drop all 3 tables. So airport, airline, and route. So airport, airline, and route will drop airport, airline, and route. So you can have, it supports multiple selection. So using, it supports multiple selection but doesn't support multiple drops. So it has dropped airline. Now we will drop airport and route. You can see it is establishing the relationship. Relationship is already defined at database level, and designer is smart enough to link that. So in our case, this is the route table, and route has two foreign keys. One is airline ID. So obviously different airline flights are going to visit, basically will be part of that route. So that airline ID will be there, and that particular route will have airports linked. So that airport ID will also be there. And then airport in turn has a source as well as destination. So that's why there are two foreign keys. Now we'll arrange route at center, airline and airport. By default, it is selecting all the fields, and if you'll see on the left side, it is already establishing the SQL query. So it has selected all fields from 3 tables from, and by default there is no where clause, there is no group by having. If you want, you can go switch to syntax tab. At the bottom you can see besides designer. So by default it will open in designer mode. Besides designer there is a syntax tab. If you click, you can see this query. So this query is found. Now we don't want all the fields. So this is the schema. We have central table route, and which is connecting airlines as well as airports. Now here is the problem statement. You understood the data. There are only 3 tables. Master tables are your airlines, which contains all the airlines of the world, like United Airlines, your Emirates Airlines, India Airlines. Then the airport is another table, which is listing all the airports of the world. And then routes. So routes is again all over globe routes will be available. In that route, for each route there will be source and destination. Now here it is so the problem statement is generate report containing total number of flights per airline. So this is pretty simple scenario. You just want to list total number of flights for that particular airline. Now it's simple SQL. We will go through step by step. So you'll have to go first. We have established the connections, open flights underscore connection. Now we have to build a query. Now this is, you understood? Any questions so far till SQL query designer? You can post your questions in case you have any in questions box. So I'm going to cancel it. Let's rename query according to our problem. So flights per airline. And we're going to use query designer. We would need airline as a table. So you can see, so drag route and airline, these 2 tables on the right side workspace. Then you will appear, so we are seeing this particular link, then you check ID. So we are going to just check ID, name and alias. So in fact this route table is redundant here. We are not selecting anything from the route. So you don't need to use route as such. We can just, we will just connect single table. So this single table is more than enough. We're going to select ID, name, and alias. So rest of the stuff is not required. What I will do, I will deselect all and select. If you click on this table name, it opens up this context menu. You can sort by name, pack, select all, deselect all. So this is handy to deselect all. So after deselecting, I selected ID, name, alias, and you can see on the left side these three got added. So this is the root query. Again, this tool is pretty much handy, SQL Query Designer, to work with simple queries. If you have too complex queries, too many subqueries, you're playing with temporary tables, in that case, I personally would not recommend you to go with this Query Designer. It may screw up your original complex query, because it works very well for simple queries. For complex queries, it may overwrite your existing rules. Yeah, so there is no other condition. We are using where clause though, and in where clause, so in where clause, when you click on add condition, so there are different clause. Select clause is one. If you will right click, you can add some group function like distinct, then add expression, add subquery. In from, again you can add subquery. So we are not doing that. We are just selecting data from one table, airline. Now in where, so where group by having all these clauses will have some option when you do right click. Even order by, you can remove it all, you can add order by drag and drop. So here, let's say we want to sort by name, so you can drag and drop under order by, and you can see that started appearing here. By default it is ascending. If you want to change it, you go edit and you can change it to descending. Yeah, if you're familiar with SQL, sometimes this becomes too clumsy. Okay, so Prashant is asking what do you recommend for complex queries? I would recommend for complex queries go with any editor which is supporting basic features like highlighting keywords of that particular ANSI SQL. So I personally am using for MySQL, this is the SQL Yog editor, which works like charm, and it is community edition. So though few features are not supported in community edition, but I have never encountered any issue so far. So all major features are available in community edition, but if you are really DBA kind of guy, in that case you might need to upgrade to enterprise edition. Toad is another tool which is again rich tool, but it is rich in all senses, meaning it consumes a lot of resources as well as it is giving you rich features. Now for me, whatever is lightweight, I prefer that. So few features are missing which are not rich, but if I am good at SQL, then I don't need that. Like auto completion is one feature which is available in Toad, which is not supported by SQL Yog. So you hit dot and it will automatically list down that columns available in that table or table names available in that particular schema. So that auto completion feature is not available in community edition. Definitely it's available in enterprise edition in SQL Yog, but in Toad it is available in community edition as well, I think. Yeah, so we wanted to add where clause. So you click on add condition. So where clause, typically you are comparing two entities, two elements. So that's why it is giving you these operator sets: equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and all other which you would be familiar with. Now in our case, okay, so this is just for education purpose. We're not got it. Thanks. You're welcome, Prashant. Yeah, so query designer, this is how you are going to add your operator. So if you say less than, but so far we don't have. Okay, airline we can add. So here you'll have to select manually airline, or other way is you can add ID here in where clause. Okay, it's not working, it seems. Actually I am using this feature for training purpose, otherwise I never use this feature. Yeah, so it seems you will have to type in manually airline.id and then equal to, and you can say some hard-coded condition, click on OK, and it gets added here. So that's how it works. We don't want that, so we're going to remove it. Yeah, so that's it. We don't want any other feature. Name descending, let it be, and we can quickly check what's been added here. So this is the query. 3 fields are selected from airline. This ordered by. Okay, let's arrange it in ascending only. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Back to forward, like I change in syntax. Now let's switch to designer mode and see here it is still showing descending. Okay, and it is smartly popped up. Something is changed. Do you want to reload? Let's say yes, and let's collapse, and yeah, so it has changed to ascending, but I have personally seen it doesn't work always. But depending on your complexity, if it is too simple query and you are not too comfortable with writing SQLs, then probably you can use this tool. So our query is ready. Let's click on OK, and that query is brought here. Now we'll say save it. So you can see these 3 fields: ID, name, alias. So they got added here. Okay, so the features are still explained here. You can add expressions. We already talked about the number of flights. Okay, number of flights we do need to add. So let's again go to edit mode. So if you want to go to edit mode, you can double click on that query from data explorer data tab, and here we are. Now again go to SQL query designer mode, and we want to add expression, which is count expression. So you want to add some alias. What is the alias name added here? Number of flights. So number of flights is the alias name, and here you're going to type that expression, count of airline.id. Typically this tilde operator, if there is no spaces, you don't need to use, but as a standard practice it is recommended. So this is the expression, and it gets added here. So you can see it is taking smart icon. So sigma icon it has taken because it is aggregation function. Now because we want to add this, we have added this aggregation function. Aggregation doesn't make sense without group by. Do you guys agree, or anybody thinks there can be aggregation function without group by. So here we want to add group by based on airline ID. So there can be multiple IDs for the route. Okay, hold on. Our problem statement is generate report containing total number of flights per airline. Okay, the problem statement is little incomplete. Total number of flights per airline for that route. Is it route? Airline? Yeah, for that route. So route is nothing but you can say it's a airport. Some leading airports. So that's why route is later on added in the connection in the SQL, and that's why in fact this route table was required. So we will have to add route. We don't need, so we will for the time being deselect everything, and this is our query so far. We have added group, we have to add group by. So you can add group by dropping this airline ID on group by, and here you go. So we are doing group by based on airline ID. Now, yeah, so aggregation without group by is not possible. That was the question. And we have added airline ID, so that will give us count of that particular airline ID. So we have added this, and let's go to next. So now this is how the SQL is. Okay, we haven't added inner join so far. Okay. We can add this. So when we'll switch, yeah, so inner join by default is added because your query designer understands the relationship between these two tables. So you don't need to add anything for inner join, but it has already added for you. So this is the query. This last aggregation function we have added. The first three we had selected, and this is your inner join condition for from. Then group by we have added, order by we have added. Yeah, so in the sample order by is not there. Now let's save. Okay. Okay, so sometimes it may create issues. I haven't seen so far, but I heard from support that it was creating issue at their end. Add limit 100. I don't. So let's not add any limit. I don't think limit is required, but depending on your configuration, your machine's configuration, if you're running on a very low memory, in that case you might need to add that limit. But typically in today's world, that is very rare scenario. So I'm not adding any limit, and I'm clicking on OK. So this is the query. Let's go ahead by clicking OK, and you can see the fourth field is also added here, number of lights. Now let me save it. I'm going to save it here. Model 3. So report example 3. Now these are the next steps. Designing report. Now you have configured as a part of workflow. The first step is configuring your data source, adding SQL, and comes to designing report. So add labels in the report header as airlines with total flights. Again, these are few styles which I mentioned in the and it is in report header. So let's switch to structure tab, report header, add label. This is the label. The saying to change it to 24 font family. Airline with their total flights. So this is static label. Now we will arrange it to make sure it looks like one-liner. So it is cutting off the bottom, so we'll need to increase the height to, let's say, 30, and here we go. So let's not spend too much time in designing. So by default, detail header would be hidden. Here on the right side you can see detail header. So you can see it in the layout, the hierarchy, whereas on the left side, this workspace, this canvas, you cannot see it because by default it is hidden. Just right click, you've seen it, unhide it, and you'll see it here. We're going to add column headers now. Now as we have seen, typically if it is tabular, then change the layout to row, and we have to add labels here. So airline ID, airline name, alias, and number of flights. So these three labels we are going to add. Two, three, and see, sometimes it is not selected. 4. So 4 labels. Airline ID, we'll name them. So to name them, we'll see in multiple ways. Airline ID, name, alias, and number of flights. Now these are alignments, related settings. In general, if you're working on report, these are few very basic things, but in my career I have seen people do repeat the mistakes. If it is numeric, it has to be right aligned. If it is text, it should be left aligned. And typically, especially when it is currency, you must have decimals, flat decimals with proper number formatting. So for example, if you're working on a invoice, not invoice, let's say income statement, income report. In that case, all the numbers must have 2 decimals. Even if it is $100, still it should be denoted as $100.00. So the reader, whoever is the main audience, he can be easily able to make out, okay, this is thousands, this is millionth unit, and this is billionth. So that alignment is very, very important. I have seen client keeps raising those issues after repeated instructions, and developers keep sidelining it. So it's very, very important aligning, especially on your projects. So for our example sake also, we will stick to that. So change the H align to center. So all the headers should be horizontally centrally aligned. And vertically middle. Now add 3 text fields, 1 number field. So first 3 are text fields, and last one is number of flights. Now this name and alias are going to be little wider, so we will change them after adding the text fields. So first 3 are text field, so we are adding details, adding text field, then again select details, 1 more text field. Okay, so because we haven't changed the layout to row, it has overlapped. Yeah. Now again add 3rd text field, and now we have to add numeric field. See, they have given 2 different elements for number and text. The reason is formatting is different for both of them. Like number format is not applicable to text field. Now we are going to map text field. So first text field is airline ID. So there is way, okay, so this is one way to add these fields. Second way I will show you quickly. So for example, this number field, I will remove it, and from data I can see this number of flight. I can drag and drop it here. So that's another way. So we will follow the same for all 4. So that way we don't need to type everything. So first is ID, we'll drop it here. Second is name, drop it here. Alias, number of flights. So this sequence is important, that's why I dropped one by one. Otherwise I could have dropped by selecting all 4 at a time. Now we'll select ID and we'll see how it is been mapped. So go to attribute and you can see field is ID. So it's already selected. Now if you go to number of flights, here it is number field properly mapped, but then there is no format. And because this is whole number, as such you don't need format. If it is decimal, then typically you will need format. So now comes alignment. So we'll make sure this is being numeric. It should be right align. That's it. And then okay, so border section we haven't added any border so far. So we will add border for the header for bottom, which is 1. So we'll select detail header. Okay, Prashant is saying Pentaho doesn't work with 8. I will have to confirm, Prashant. Just last week I was running Pentaho on Java 8 and it was running fine, although the issue I was, see, PermGen, Max PermGen is the one property which is no more supported by Java 8. So that's one key difference. Other than that, I'm not sure is there any other differences. But I will again check out, because I do remember after after installing Java 8, even this Pentaho tools stopped working, and I did something. I will again go back and check whether I could really configure on top of Java 8. Now, okay, one more thing. So we can, just for adding some rich filling, we can select this and change the color to white, text color to white. Okay. Okay. Rather than this, I will type in and select details header and change the background color to blue. So this labels, it is very thin, so let's make them bold. Yeah, here we go, and we'll execute. So we'll see print preview first. There is too much data, is scanning everything, and here we are. We'll zoom in a little bit. So can you see the report? See, airline ID is again numeric field. Actually it is ID, but internally all the IDs seems numeric, so we should align them. Then this is name, alias is not mandatory field, so seems all of them don't have alias. Like here, yeah, we saw Aero World as alias. So if we'll take one name, 40 Mile Air, with airline ID, which has total number of flights as 4. Then let's take some big, let's see, Lufthansa. Okay, so better will, okay, first thing is ID, we will right align. Although it is text, ID seems to be numeric, so we will right align them. We will convert it to PDF, so it will, we can see all the pages. Make it 100%. Now if we see Lufthansa, we wanted to see. Okay, so we can see there is no margin. So we should add margin so that it becomes readable. I'm not adding margin to all, but for ID field we'll have to add it. Padding, right padding, we'll say add 5 and let's add right border just to make it little better readable. Right style. Yeah. Okay, the line seems pretty thick. So depending on our requirement, we can reduce it. Again, typically in reports, all lines are not required, but depending on your requirement, you may need to turn them on or off. Like here, we have added vertical separator as a line, but horizontal separator is not there. That's why it's not looking good. So we'll have to add in details bottom line. So when you are adding horizontal line, it is better to add for that particular band rather than you selecting a particular element. That is performance efficient. I mean, think as a reporting engine, it will have to draw a line for each element, and instead of that, in one band there are in our case 4 elements. So rather than drawing line 4 times, it will add only 1 time for that complete band. And think of number of rows, and then you can extrapolate performance impact. So adding that, and now to make it look like rich, adding again padding also. And now we'll execute. So here is the final version, and we'll search for Lufthansa. Lufthansa TH. Okay, let's search for TH Lufthansa. So Lufthansa has total 931 flights, and they seem to be daily flights. So I'm not sure who's the highest number. Yeah, so this guy is Ryanair. Yeah, so this is pretty interesting numbers. Alaska, and you can check Etihad Airlines is 193. Yeah, so this is how the report of total number of flights can be created. So this is total number of flights for airline for that day. So is there any issue so far understanding this report? Oh, can we move ahead? To look it better, you can adjust the width depending on, again, the adjusting width. Designing a report can be sometimes too clumsy or too mechanical, because you will have to analyze the data. Then there are some SQL analysis functions as well, so you can find out what is the max size of the name in the database. So what is the max airline name, and then what is the max alias name. And sometimes that doesn't go well. It's not that simple use case, because if now next example we are going to add filter, so for that particular country, the one which user has selected, it may be less max number. So in that case, you will have to again make it dynamic, this report width and change it accordingly, or else it's better take a mean and add a word wrap on for the particular cell and appropriately design those widths so that it will look nice, very less line breaks, so it becomes very much readable. You can distribute with all executive management team. So let's move ahead. So there is a lab. I hope you guys are familiar with LMS so far. So you can download these examples from lab, example lab. Now here is another set of problem. So generate country-wise report. So we have seen total flights. Now we have to generate country-wise reports so that we can classify all the airlines based on their country, the country from which they belong to. So we'll start with new report. We'll have to, again, the steps are common. Go to blank page, add data source. So configure your JDBC. If JDBC is already configured, write your query and then go to designer mode. Design your layout of the report. If required, map the data to the elements and execute the report. So I'm going to start with the new, then switch to data tab, click on JDBC. Now we have this JNDI connection already ready. So you can select the JNDI connection. Click on query plus button, which will add new query. The SQL condition we will use, we'll use inner join for all 3 tables routes. So now this time we are not going to use SQL Designer, we'll write the query. So because we would need all 3 tables here, because country is picked up from airline. So we are going to type in query here. Now let me see if I have this example rather than me typing all the query. So I'm going to copy this query from my example in the new report. Okay, we haven't added, so go to JDBC, select JNDI source, add new query and paste the query. So the query, what it is doing is basically it is joining all 3 tables, route, airport and airline. So it is simple inner join. So route and airline, it is based on source airport ID to source airport ID. So route has source as well as destination, and that is connected to airport. And for airline, route has airline ID as well. So that airline ID is connected to airline table. So that's how we are getting this joins. And now we have to also make sure, so there is a active column, active field in the airline table. So whichever are active, we are interested into that. So where clause, we are selecting only active airlines. In the group by, it is based on source country because we want to aggregate the data or classify the data based on country and airline ID. So there can be multiple airlines from the same port, but we don't want them to be appeared multiple times. So to remove that duplicacy, we have added airline ID as well in the group by. In the order by, again, this is country in ascending order. So obviously first is Afghanistan. Number of flights in descending order. So we still have number of flights retained. So let me rename this query to, let's rename it to now same number of flights. Number of flights, and we'll click on OK. And here we go. All these fields you can see here. Now, is group by enough to get all groupings related features? What do you think? Okay, Prashant is saying go slow, please. Okay, since I missed your. Okay. So far, Prashant or anybody, any issues? Start from new report again. Okay. So I will close this. I'm clicking on new. Guys, so just stay focused. I'm repeating the steps. Click on JDBC. We have already added JNDA source. So on the left pane, you just need to select it. And on that data source, we're going to add new query. Let's name it to same query, number of flights. And let's say country-wise. I have already copied the SQL, so I'm just pasting it here. Now I was explaining you the query. I have already explained you the query. So it's nothing but joining three tables. It's simple inner join. We are joining based on their primary key, foreign key references. Route has been linked to airports. So source, each route has two airports. One is source airport from where it is originating, and so destination airport to where it is destined to. Then your airline, you need airline data as well. So in each route, it is associated to airline. So that route airline ID is joined with airline table. So that's how this join is designed. Where clause, we are just selecting active. Then in the group by, because we want country wise, so we are grouping by country. Okay. And order by is depending on country, ascending order, and number of flights, descending order. So in the previous example, we didn't order by number of flights. Now, is group by enough to all grouping related features? In reporting world, you cannot rely on SQL group by, but rather you would need to use group by for grouping the records. In SQL, it will just aggregate the data, but here in reporting world, you may not need aggregation of data, but you may need to classify the data based on the group. So the answer is not really. I have already explained why. And that's the reason PRD has given group bands, and that's where the group header will be put on, and for that particular group you can classify all the data underneath that. Now before we add the group here in our example, we are studying that, and once we go through that we will add the group. So before, yeah, let me save the, so we have added the query, and let me save this example. Nice. Yeah. So let's quickly understand what is the group. Anybody is aware of group already? Okay, so Madhu is saying no. Now if we want to, we have seen all number of flights record as a single monolithic report. Now if you want to aggregate the reports based on country, so you will have to classify, you'll have to first sort all the airlines based on their country they belonging to, and then you'll have to arrange in such a way that each group of airlines belonging to one country should be put under that particular country bucket, and then all those countries should be arranged so that if you want to look for United States Airlines, you will switch quickly go to United States reporting pages and see what all airlines are serving for United Airlines and how many flights they have. So that is group. So group encapsulates all the groups present in the report, and if no group is defined, the default group will be created. Okay, so as far as reporting is concerned, if you will see always group is present. Now even if you are not explicitly defining, by default it will create one default group and it will dump all the stuff into that single default group. But if you want to use it, then you will have to assign any that appropriate data field to that group so that it can use it that particular data field and arrange the data based on that field. So list of fields only contains string defining the names of the items which form a group. Now if we'll switch to report and structure, and here is a group, click on that and you can add a group, and here you can see available fields. So here list of fields only contains string defining the names of the items which form a group. So these are all fields available. There are fields which are coming from our SQL. Source country, name, number of flights. Oops, it seems copied. So let me cancel it and add group. Yeah, so these are the fields which are coming from SQL. So report date is default field. So these are all environment variables. Whatever you can see, env and then 2 colons and then rows array. So these are the default fields. Then these are source country, name, number of flights, alias, ID are coming from our SQL. So this is not limited to items from the data model, but you may also enter expression here. So depending on expression, it will evaluate a group. There are group functions available to get aggregations at this logical group. So functions, if you go to switch to data tab, there is a separate head function, and here you can use that group functions. So if you see common, so total page count is one group function. Then running sum, so this is another group function. So all these sum, count, group count are group functions. So there are group functions available to get aggregation at this logical group. So basically whatever you could have achieved in SQL, you don't want to do that, because SQL will just zip the data, all the records at that particular group. You don't want that. You still want to study the elements under the group, but at group level also you want to add that top line, header line. So that's why you would need those aggregation functions to be used at that logical group, and that's where aggregation functions will be used from PRD. Headers and footers represent a placeholder which can be, so headers and footers means group header and group footer. So you can put date, page number, chapter name, so those type of stuff. Okay, so this is header and footer is basically page level. So page header, page footer, report header, report footer. That's where you can put date, page number, and group header. It depending on your requirement. If let's say it is country as a group, then you can put you are on country, this particular country page. So at the group footer you can mention country. So even if you are on not on first page of the country, but maybe subsequent next pages, still one can make out, okay, I am going through Afghanistan Airlines. So that's how group band is and header footer usage is. Okay, I could see somebody is popping up. Okay, Madhu is asking, can we provide example? So Madhu, example of what? Okay, it's in group function, that's fine. Okay. So this is the group. Let me switch and to structure, and this is group, this is group header, this is group body, and this is group footer. So typically group footer is single element. Group details body is containing multiple bands. We have already seen in the first tab. In the second module, how to use no data. If there is no data, then you should use it. Okay, just a minute. Let me quickly glance if, yeah. So now adding group. So how do you add group? You just right click on the group. We have visited that page. Say add group. And you can see on the left side, there are multiple elements available. You can resize it. And we are going to group by. So there are two ways. One is either from right click and say add group, or else select data and here is a group in attribute, and you click on that Eclipse, and that will pop up this box. Now we are going to select source country. So again, same nomenclature, green plus button to add. You can move up and down because it is group by. The order may make impact. Then under the value, all those group by fields will be listed. And once you're done, click on OK. So we are going to add source country. And hit on this right arrow, which will push it to right pane list. Now as there is single one, this up down arrow may not make sense. Click on OK, and you can see this is change. So if you hover over, okay, it's not showing anything. So if you, okay, now you can see group and source country. So source country label is been added. So that is a ready reckoner that this group is based on source country. Now expand this group element on the tree view. So it's already expanded. And we will go on group header. Group header is already there. And you can hide it, unhide it, so that it will start appearing on the canvas. So you can see group header. Now in the previous example, we have added label in, sorry, not this one, this one. We have added headers in details header because there was no group header. Now here we are going to add that in group header. So we have unhidden this group header, you can see here, and now we can add element which is source country. So this is again not label. In the previous case it was label. Here on details header all these were just plain labels, whereas here it is going to be dynamic field. So it is going to be text field. And this will be expand group element. We have unhidden. The band becomes visible in the report canvas. And click on the style tab, locate layout property, size, position, category. And this is a common scenario in header. We are doing arranging it in a row layout. Group header. It is in style. So don't forget to switch to style and row. So which will stick it to the first element of that row. Okay. So report header, add label in the report header. So those labels are common here. But before that, we need to make sure this particular field is mapped to source country. So we can actually rather than we adding, we can just drop source country here, and we are going to copy the same band so that I can save some time. Then copying from here, you can copy from here. I'm copying it, I'm pasting in the, okay, so detail header is again hidden, so I'm making it visible, I'm pasting it, and because it was not arranged in the row layout, all of them are stacked on top of each other. Now I'm making it row, and these are there. Now I have to change the background to blue, and here we go. Source country, I mentioned 24 is the text size. Change it. In the example, they have given the color to blue. So we added these 4 fields, change is already there, add 3 text fields and 1 number field, so that again will copy. So selecting details, and okay, so before we paste, let's change the layout to row. Just paste it here. Now when it is pasted, we also need to make sure we add horizontal line. So in details page, we can add bottom, we can add 1. This is typically designing a report. There are 2 main elements. First element is feeding the data. So feeding the right data source to the reporting engine. That's where typically developer comes into picture. When I say developer, basically programmer, whose job is to provision the right set of data for the report. So he may be very expert at designing SQL. So his job is to prepare right SQL which will provision the data, and the next element is designing the report. So designing layout, what layout should be used, what style should be used, how they should be placed, and that's where designer comes into picture. When I say designer, you could correlate with web designer, and because design has different eyes, you need to have the design eyes, then you can design report in such a way they will look pretty rich. So we have added this, we have added horizontal line, and okay, so those margins and all it has retained. That is saying select details band, and in border section style pane set the bottom style to solid. Okay, we already done. Left padding we added, adjust the column width accordingly. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll reduce this airline ID. It doesn't need width of 100. So in fact we can use manual option using mouse. You can just squeeze the first column, then name, we can increase. So you'll have to make sure you select header and details field at a time, so that you are resizing both fields at a time. Otherwise that will be real pain. If you are resizing one header at a time and then its corresponding details field second time. So I'm increasing number of slides. Again, we don't need that much width, so I am squeezing in that field. I'm increasing name again a little bit more. Here we go. Select the first group header element from the tree view. In the structure tab, under the style tab, locate the repeat header property. Okay, so select the first header, group header element, so which is this, and you have to spot the repeat header property. Under the styles tab, page behavior category. So these categories are linked. You can see the gray header, like this is links, then size and position. So similar to that, just check page behavior. Here it is, and repeat header. So this is the property, and we have to turn it to true. So it will repeat the header. So even if, okay, so before we turning it true, let's first make it false, and we'll see how is it looking. So you can see, because there is no bottom margin, so this group header is mixing with the header of the table. And okay, this is one page. Let's go to. So you can see there is no break after ending of group. Then if one group is broken in between, like this one, so on the previous page it is Angola, and Angola, this page is not listing all the airlines from Angola. So if you go to next page, remaining leftover is appearing here, but that header is missing. Now if you want to repeat that group header, then you will have to turn it, that property on. So repeat header. Also we saw all the groups, all the countries are appearing on the same page, which is creating a mess on that particular single page. So we don't want to do that. So we will also add break property. So we have added under page behavior repeat header, and we will add break also. So we can add break after. So after the group is complete, we can add break, and now we will again regenerate. See, there are, it is showing how many rows, 5,659, and all the rows it is arranging in the group. So depending on your power up machine, okay, so okay, we have said after group, and after this adding this element, it is putting all its corresponding stuff. Okay, so it seems we should add it before. Page break before true. sticky orphan. Okay, for simplicity, what I am doing, I am just limiting it to 100 so that we can build the report fast. Yeah, so this is what we want. Now I will remove the limit. Okay, first thing is this was mixing with the header, so we will increase its height. We will increase it to, let's say, 40, and anyways it is top aligned. Let's confirm. Yeah, vertically it is top aligned. That's what we want. Now this particular right element we can just adjust at the border so that it will, that right side border will be at exactly corner side. So somebody was saying what is it doing internally. So if you see, it has multiple passes. So first it gets the data, then it arranges the data, then it's properly again arranging using group by. Okay, this is, I think, it's mixing the number of flights, so that is not looking good, but let me change it to 100%. So yeah, okay, well, let me in fact remove the border of right side so that it will look much nicer and readable. So to remove, we can just say it undefined. So typically this is how you will run. You just click on this green arrow which gives the option. You can see in print preview, which is not taking all the data but just some sample. And second thing is conversion. So if you want to convert that report to PDF, then conversion comes into picture, which takes time. And this is basically raw format, and that's why that has come up pretty fast. So we'll see the report here in our PDF. So it has generated in 357 pages, and it is country by country. Now if you'll go to, let's say, United States, here is United States. Oh, why is it appearing twice? United Kingdom is appearing, and this is second. Okay, so it seems because we are repeating the header, group header, that is creating some issue. So we'll for the example, let's not get into that, but that setting needs to be changed. Let's first understand how it is working. So this is group header. then you can see as we have sorted number based on number of flights, it is sorted, and United Airlines has almost 1800 flights per day. Alias again because it is not available, and all such data is aggregated based on, so this is the second page, and even if it is second page of United States, you can see the group header appearing on this page. If you go to, this is third page, so that group page header is appearing on each page, not only on first page, and here it ends. So once it is ended, it is taking a break, page break, and next country is started on next page, Uruguay. So this is how group function works. So any issues so far in understanding this group function, how it works? And there are bunch of styles available here. If you select group, so these are all styles related to group. You can play with all those styles, especially page behavior, because that is something which is different. This page behavior, you can play with different properties, try adding values, and you can refer to Info Center, the link which is been given in the lab's LMS site for today's module. In fact, Info Center is a common link. You can, for any module, you will see a lot of references. Okay, so Madhu is saying I am fine. Okay, good to know that. So let's quickly move to parameter based example. Now from previous example, basically it was generating report for all the countries. Now how if I want to see a report for only India? So rather than me generating report, how many, 357 pages of report, and then searching for India, and then going through Indian Airlines, why not to supply parameter as a country? So you can supply parameter, you can give parameter before generating the report. Now how? So there's the question, is there any way to pass the parameter? Yes, definitely. So Pentaho in PRD you can pass free flow text as a parameter, or you can pull the parameter and present it in the form of drop down. So you will have to refer to data pane for that. Now for our example, we are going to list down the country. You are going to pull the countries from airline table. So this is a simple query. Select distinct country from airline where country is not null. Order by country. So let's go there. Add one more query. We have this query already. Edit data source, and here you hit on this plus, so it is adding query, and we will say it is country, and select distinct country from airline where country is airline where country is not null. And yeah, it's order by is not really required. Oh yeah, so it is required because you're going to present it in the drop down. Order by country. So by default it is in ascending order. That's it. So this will return list of countries. Now we have to pass it as a parameter. So first of all, yeah, this is another feature of preview. So if you click, it will list down. So it seems there are some spaces or special characters, so we can ignore for the moment. And okay, so there is space, leading space, so we can trim and then sort. So this is public database, so somebody, it seems, should spend some energy to cleanse the data. So we can use trim feature of SQL, and order by also we'll have to use trim. Here we go. So it has removed the leading spaces, and we'll save it. And now we are going to add parameter. Here is a parameter. So we will do right click. You can see add parameter. It's 3 dots. Eclipse is, so it is going to pop up new dialog. So click on that, and on the left side you can see data sources. Select country as a data source, and then in the name you can mention country. Label also, let's give the same name, country. Data format is, well, value type is string. Just ignore data format. Default value, again let's ignore. You can have default value formula as well, post-processing formula. We can say it is mandatory. Then display type, we can select drop down, and value is this. So label, we can select country, and where is it? Validate, reset to default value, use first value as default. So this third checkbox, let's check it. So by default it will select the first value from the drop down. Now if you will see print preview, here you can see select country. Oh, so there is a typo, and you can see all countries available in the drop down, but report didn't stop and it has rendered. Okay, so let's select report is waiting for our input, but regardless of our input it is generating all the report for all the countries. We don't want that, and the reason is there is no linking. We have added parameter. Let me correct the typo. Oops. You just double click and it will open that parameter. Underneath that, yeah, here is the country. You edit the parameter, so you right click, you edit the parameter, and here was that typo. Wait, select country. Probably we should add some colon. Okay, now we'll have to go back in our main SQL, and in where clause we have to add that condition, and country equal to. So in Pentaho typically you use curly braces and the name of that parameter which we had given country, and outside that you need to give $sign. So this is how you embed the variable. and this particular variable will be replaced at runtime by the supplied value. So which will be replaced by selected country at runtime. So let's click on OK. I'm going to save it and I'm going to execute it. Let's do it in, so it doesn't matter in print preview or what. I'm going to select, let's say, India and update. Okay, so it seems it's giving some error. What is the error? Okay, let's try to execute in PDF. India. Yeah. So let's see what is the error. Failed at query, this. Caused by this column country in where clause is ambiguous. Because we are selecting 3 tables, so it is not able to make out which country are we saying here. So we want to say, so our distinct is coming from airline, and we want to make sure the country is also belonging to airline. So we'll say airline.country equal to dollar curly braces country. And then we will generate PDF. It is already selected. Here we go. Oh, why 2 flights only? Oh, so it seems it is still generating report for all. So our condition is wrong. So and airline country. Okay, our join is based on airport. And this. So if we'll let's paste it. This is my SQL log, and I'm going to replace it with India. Okay, so it should not be airline country, but it should be source country. So for that, so we are going to link the parameter to source country. So we will get all the flights which are originating from that particular country. Okay. What is our problem statement? Yeah, so source airport dot country, that's what it is. And we click on OK and select India, and so this is the report. So all the airlines originating from India. So there are 4 pages report. The highest is National Airlines and then Jet Airways. And in fact, okay, so for this particular page, even if it is group header, you know that you're generating the report only for India, so you don't, and anyways, okay, this is second page, so you don't need that group header to be repeated, but otherwise you can put it in the bottom. So in header, footer of the group, again group footer is not visible. Group footer. You can just add that country. From data, that country. And we can probably right align it. What happened? It didn't appear. So source country is in group footer. Group footer is text field, and text color is black. Oh, it should have been appearing. Okay, let me check if it is working for details footer. No, details footer. Interesting. So am I making any mistake here? I have added group footer. Okay, let me add some text label first. Okay, even plain label it is not. Okay, somebody is picking up. Somesh is asking, can we use the parameter in the select clause of the query? Yes, Somesh, you can use. You can very well use. Okay, so this reporting footer is not working. Not sure if I am making some silly mistake. This one plain label is not working. Sometimes I have seen practically there can be some bugs in the reporting PRD, but there is workaround. For example, in sub report, if you want to add label, then you will have to make sure you add reporting label in reporting header and not in group header. But here we tried out with detail footer as well as this, and okay, only this one is not. We tried out that is reporting footer. Okay, even in reporting footer it's not working. Fine, so I'll get back to you on this in the next session. What is the issue, if there is any bug, if there is any workaround for that, or am I making any silly mistake? But this is pretty simple. Okay, so our main emphasis in this example was adding a group and adding a parameter at runtime. So we have seen here So Somesh was asking whether we can add parameter in select clause. Yes, you can. Only thing is you'll have to replace this particular stuff variable at runtime here. But in select, I am not able to visualize what could be your use case scenario. Okay, you can come up with use case scenario, but how it happens is it is replacing this particular string at runtime with the substitute value. Oh, so one more question from Somesh. I will use that in sub report. Okay, so in order to use that in sub report, you don't need in select clause as such. You will have to export it. So anyways, we are going to cover that. Don't worry about that. So this is about this example. We have already executed the example and need of sub report. That's where it is. So sub report is, we have already talked about. If you have two data sets coming from two different SQLs and you want to use both of them, then probably you will need face this need of sub report. Second scenario can be two data sets from two different data sources, and you need to embed other data source on top of your master report. So that's when you will go for sub report. So the next example is update the previous example by adding sub report in front of country group header. So we have added country group header. So in front of that, add one sub report which will fetch total flights for that country from airline table. So how many countries total for that country are available from airline table. So it's a pretty simple use case. Just for the sake of report, sub report, we have added that problem statement, but otherwise there could be multiple ways to achieve the same report. So how to add that sub report? So first thing, we are going to use the same example, or we'll save it, and anyways we don't need the reference. I don't need the reference. You guys can create a copy. So you do save as with some different name and then can work on that sub report. To add sub report, there is a button sub report from the palette to group header selection. So let's add that. From the palette there is a sub report. First of all, we'll have to select it here, group header, from structure, group header, and you can see sub. So just click on that and it is added in here, because, and if you'll double click on that, it will take you to that sub report page. You can see it is untitled sub report. In fact, you can title it okay, this is query. Okay, there is a property title where you can add that. Okay, so we have added a sub-report in this example, which is here, and if you want to open it, just double click on it, it will open, and this is the page. And okay, third from the bottom, 1 minute. Okay, so Madhu, third, so are you informing third one from the bottom is subgroup button? Yes, that is correct. So we have added sub-report. Now we are going to configure it. So first thing, for any report, you will have to add data source. And then you will have to configure the query. So we will add data source. You can see the previous query is also visible here. And we are going to add new query. Oops. So we can click on any of the query. Oops, what's happening? Okay, so these are inherited, so you'll have to go from here only. Select open flights connection, which we're using. Click on new, so which will add query 1. Then this is the query. Select count star from total flights. So you just need count. From airline where country is dollar. So you can see the country is dollar airline country. This is a parameter. Okay, so Madhu is asking, where are you selecting sub report? Oh, I have already selected sub report and added. So let me click on OK. Here was the example, and I have this is the sub report. If you see here in the group header, this sub report is selected. Actually, it is not getting appeared here on the report page. And once we will add some element, then it will start appearing. And once you have added sub report, just double click on it. It will take you to sub report, and that's it. You are no more connected to master report. It is sub report. And then for sub report, you switch to data tab, and from data tab you can see inherited data sets. So those two queries from master reports, you can see it here, and you also need to add your own query, so which we have added here. So it is selecting, okay, this is count star from airline where country equal to, and again this parameter we are passing, which now we have to configure, which is coming from master report. Okay, you're welcome, Madhu. So for that purpose, we will have to configure parameter. So if you, so here we have added query get total flights. Okay, so we'll rename it to get total flights. And you cannot preview because country is being replaced at runtime by a country parameter. But at least you can confirm your SQL is correct or not. So syntactical part, at least it can be confirmed. Now at the bottom of data pane, double click on parameters node, it will open sub report parameters dialog. So at the bottom of data pane, under parameters, it has opened two parameters, import and export parameter. Now double click on parameters node, it will open sub report parameters dialog. So just double click and it will open this dialog, which this slide is talking about. Now we have to import country parameter first of all. So in the import tab, left side, you have to import country tab. So hit on plus in the drop down. Okay, let me resize it so that it will be visible. Okay, Somesh is asking what is the difference between import parameter and export parameter. Import parameter is you are importing the parameter from your master, and export probably if you want to again push it to your down the hierarchy. But import is essentially you are importing from your parent. So here we are going to select country. Okay, again there are, we are supposed to select only country as a parameter. So we have to import country parameter and name as country only. So on both sides, outer name and inner name. Okay, here, so we have imported outer name as country. Outer means which is coming from outside. Now inner name also should be country only. So actually it is other way around. Import inner name is the one which is coming from your parent, and outer name is how you want to map it. So to avoid confusion, I can see some example question. Do we have no? So we don't have unfortunately any example on export parameter, but I will share some example to support, so you guys can connect with support and post your query there. So country we have added in left outer name as well as inner name. Then add a label number field in the details band. Okay, so and click on OK. So you just click on OK. So Somesh, you can just query your question to support, and so that I won't also forget. Anyways, I have the questions log with me. So I will make sure I will share example or related references with support. Now we clicked on OK. Now we need to add label and number field in details tab, which will capture this number of flights for that specific country, which is been passed from master report. So just for distinction purpose, we will make the color red. So here in details band, so switch to structure, go to details here and add first label and then get total flights. This is not selected since details. Yeah, drag and drop seems not working for sub report. So this is, we know numeric field. So added this because it was not row. We will make sure it is canvas layout is row. Sorry, band layout is row. Now label is total number of flights. And number field here field is, we'll have to map it with, okay, so sometimes it happens that the field which you're looking for, like here you're looking for get, not get total field. Actually you're looking for count star. So count star, let's alias it. Number of flights. So this particular field is not appearing here. Whereas if you see here, you can see all the fields are being listed. So sometimes it is erratic behavior, but nothing to worry, you know the name of that field, so you can just type in there. So the field is number of flights. And format, we don't need formatting, but we need right align. Anyways, let's not worry about right align, but we will, because it is not in table as such, and we will make this particular background just to distinguish text color as red. And let's add margin also, because this is going to be embedded in front of your country name, so there should be enough margin. So we'll add margin left padding here. as, let's add 20. So now we'll increase the width so that there should not be overlap. Here it is, and then let's, okay, now it got added here. See, previously when we added, it was empty. Now because we added few elements, they started appearing here. Now we will have to increase its height here as well, because its height was 40. So we'll have to make sure here also sub-report height should be 40 so that they will align properly. So at runtime, nobody should be able to make out which field is coming from which data source. Now we will make it in the middle. This is for that purpose. Also we'll have to make it in the middle so that they should appear linear. Now let's execute. Oh, what happened? So there may be some exception. So unfortunately it doesn't show exception in your preview. This is old exception, it seems. So I selected India and oh, there is no exception also. It is strange. Oh, I added this. So it seems the country is not passed. No, but regardless of that, we have this label which is static part. Now this is sub-report. We have it in details. So country to country mapping we did. So this is in details header. So let me preview this particular sub-report. Okay, so it executes master report always, and so let me copy it and play with page header. Okay, page header is not. Oh, I don't see. Okay, so page header is missing because for sub report actually there should be page report. Okay, so for report header we can add it. I just want to try out by adding here if it's making any difference. Okay, then I can see it. So for details why it is not getting, that's interesting stuff. Let me add it here, number of flights. So this is what I was discussing with you just a couple of minutes back, that sometimes you might end up doing such R&D, because there may be some bug, and you are if you are not, even if I am using right now 5.1, which is general available release, but few of the bugs which may be open for this release, so you will have to check their Jira if this particular bug is reported, and then you will have to find workaround. Okay, so here the reporting element is properly embedded, but at runtime it's not getting number of flights. Okay, but at least we're somewhere near. And let me open the example. Okay, so in the example which you will find in the LMS, this is exactly how it is done. Details, label, and then let's make sure how. Okay, this is the SQL part. Am I audible? I'm just getting a popped up message, so just wanted to check if I'm audible. Okay, okay, good. I'm audible. Yes, so this is the query, which is perfect. And okay, let's quickly check the parameter. Which is nothing complex about it. So this is a example from LMS. Let's quickly check. Yeah, so this is working just perfect, and if we select, okay, the query seems to be not optimized, but if select something, it is coming up properly. Okay. Okay, so let me remove this. Let's try adding again the sub-report element. Oh, it is this, right? So there is a proper linking. If you see, okay, there are too many things open, so let me close that. This is what we are working on. So if you open this, I don't want to see it. So it is properly linking this particular elements plus this is, I just now make it boldface it. So it is properly pulling. So it is getting the report sub-report element, but at runtime probably it is not able to embed it. Now what is this warning? Let me see. Okay, there's nothing. So let's remove it and let's repeat it so that we'll rule out. Sometimes selecting that particular element, especially when you are not using mouse, is a pain, and you'll have to use structure. But there is a beautiful way that from structure it will perfectly select that particular element. So I am removing it. Now I am adding again sub-report. Okay, for that I will have to select group header. I am adding sub-report. So you can see I have added sub-report. By default there is nothing. That's the reason you might not notice I have added sub-report. Let me change its height a bit away to 40 and then double click on it. So here you add query JDBC. So I'm going to copy it now this time. So add, first you'll have to link to open source database, then add query, get total flights, and yeah, so preview is helpful especially to avoid syntactical errors. If there is syntactical error, at least it will crib. And you can see, so add in details, so go to structure, details. Yeah, before we add, we have to make sure we have configured parameter. So double click on parameter, click on outer name as country, inner name again country, click on OK, and now switch to structure tab, detail, you add first label, then again details. We forgot to set row as a layout, so added row, and then adding, it is numeric field, so numeric field. So this time you can see this total flight, so you should be able to see it here probably. Yeah, it is appearing here. And this is our example. We can write a line, middle style, and let's quickly check. Here we go. So label, okay, label we didn't name it, total flights. And let's make it red. Let's remove it. Yeah, that's it. Also we need to add left padding. So let's add 10. And we will generate PDF report. So for India. So here we go. So India, it has added one sub-report, total flights 25, and all 25 flights are listed below. So there are a lot of things you can achieve in PRD. Due to time constraint, we cannot cover all. For example, you can give numbers. Here, first field is your ID, so airline ID, but you can give numbers, your running number. So that will give you, okay, the total 25 flights. So I should be able to see all 25 flights listed. So that is also possible. So running, we have run the example. Now what is embeddable reporting? So we have seen with the help of report designer, you can build a lot of fascinating reports, but then for that you need report designer. How can you embed the report? So you can embed the report. So before that, what is embedded reporting? Can anybody explain what is embedded reporting? Okay, I got one answer, it seems. Mashups. Yeah, so that's correct. So if you want you have your application up and running, and you want to embed something in your existing application, in your existing page, then you will go for this embedded reporting. For example, you have a web page and you want to hook up that one particular area to stock exchange and pull the stock code of your organization. Then you will go for that type of embedded reporting. Yeah, so Prashant said mashups and reports that contains graphics and text. Perfect, Prashant. So the example which I gave you, so if your organization is listed, so typically all the listed organizations, you will find stock code embedded in their homepage. So that is best example of embedded reporting. Or you can see nowadays a lot of bloggers, they refer to somebody third party reports, graphical reports. Again, referring to stock codes. If you you want to embed stock chart of that particular script, then you can refer to any third-party feeders like Google Finance or Yahoo Finance, and you can embed that stock chart in your blog. So that's what is embedded reporting. Very PRD does support this feature, and using that, so there are ways PRD supports the feature. One way is using API, and using API, and second way could be if you have published your report on one particular URL, so that URL itself can be embedded in your website. But that is too clumsy way. This one using set of API, and your PRPT needs to be distributed along with your application. So this is much cleaner way. So we are going to see one quick example based on that. So this is going to be our last example. So Madhu, it seems we are continuously running out of 10 window. So again today we might need to extend by 10-15 minutes. So I hope it's fine with you. You can take your leave later on, or maybe in a day, tomorrow. So this is a scriptlet, code scriptlet, where you need to import classic Pentaho reporting engine related libraries. No issues, Madhu is saying. Thank you, Madhu. So you'll have to import these libraries. The way I have structured the example is using with the help of IVY. It's a tool for dependency management. It will resolve all the dependencies. It will download dependencies from the Maven site, and you don't need to take care of whether this library is in the class path or not. But if practically you won't be relying on that, but you will be working on some IDE like Eclipse or NetBeans. In that case, you'll have to copy the libraries, or you'll have to link the libraries from your Pentaho. So here, if you'll go to, this is report designer, and if you'll go to lib, so all these libraries you can see, so they need to be linked in your Eclipse project. You don't need to download it again. So following is the snippet. So first is load report definition. Now you have resource manager. So you just instantiate a report resource manager, and once registered instantiated, you need to register defaults. So whatever are the default settings, they will be instantiated with that manager. Then you need to configure the report file. So report file is nothing but PRPT file. So when we save our report, like this is our last example we are working on. So this report example 4.prpt, you can see in the title. So this is nothing but a reporting template. So that template needs to be configured. So first step is instantiate resource manager, then register defaults, and then build your report path. And then, so here I am getting the report path from parameter, so which is coming from HTML page. So that's why report name is a variable here. So we are getting servlet real path using, so this is relative path, and to resolve the relative path to absolute path, you are getting servlet context dot get real path. Now it is, and we are adding data. So data is where, so let me quickly browse to example folder, which you can download from, again, LMS. Sorry about that. So we are going to example folder. So this is the example folder, and under var, this example or main code will be residing. Now we were looking into this snippet and the data folder. So data folder, if you see, here is a data folder. So PRD API example is the example folder. Underneath that, data folder, and under data folder there are two PRPT templates. So this is a relative path, that's why it is starting with data / and then that report name, which is coming from your HTML. So once your resource is ready, so you got this path, you are feeding the path to resource to create object of resource. and so the report path is been fed, and master report dot class, which is coming from, basically it's a static reference. So this is how, so master, it will create instance of master class as a resource and put it in the resource. So here is a instance of master class. So it's a static method, get resource on resource object, and it will return you to master report. Okay, so got question. Do we need to, Madhu is asking, do we need to provide the sequence? I don't think I am getting your question, Madhu. Do we need to provide the sequence of files to execute? Well, you are executing one file at a time. If you want to execute multiple files at a time, then see, this is how this is working. There are two requests from our main HTML page, and one request is generating report for one file. So one report. If you are generating multiple reports, then you will have multiple such statements. Like you will be passing multiple files here, like report name will be 2, and then you will be generating report 2 times or multiple times. So sequence as such is not important, but how are you placing on the report is important. The example which we will be demonstrating, those are PDF reports, so it doesn't matter. It is just downloading the PDF and will open it inside your browser. But if it is graphical report, in that case, yeah, definitely your placement is key. Yeah, so once you got a master report instance, then okay, so country, so for one example, we are passing country as a parameter, and if that country is null, is not null, then only it will say that this is again map, report is a map, it is putting country as a parameter and name as a country. So once you are done with this setting, then you will have to set type, content type. So whether you want the report to be generated in PDF, HTML, Excel, so we are setting it as application as PDF on this next line, and then we are creating PDF. So PDF report util.create PDF, and then this response.getOutput stream gets converted to PDF. So source code is given in LMS. We will try to execute it. So before we execute, okay, something. Can we do in PPD? What is PPD? Madhu is asking, can we do it in PPD? So what is PPD? So here I am so when you will build the examples using command and build, so it will download all the dependent resources. PowerPoint document. Oh, you mean to say, can we embed a report in PPD? Not directly, indirectly, yes, but it is not going to be real-time linking. You will have to extract the report in your appropriate format, PDF or image, and that can be embedded. But real-time, you cannot embed. because inside PowerPoint you cannot execute your Pentaho engine, Pentaho reporting engine. So yeah, that was the response to Madhu's question, whether we can embed it in PPD. Now if you will execute this command ant and build, first of all you will have to make sure ant is installed on your machine, it is in the path, and then you browse to PRD API example and you will find these folders. All folders won't be there because I have already built it. When it is not built, if you will do, typical scenario will be ant, clean and build. So once you do this, then it will first clean your folders and then it will see. You can see now it has cleaned everything. Now it will build. Now while building, it is directly connecting to Pentaho, and that configuration you can find in IV setting. See, here is a pattern and here I am linking to Pentaho Resolve repository and it is downloading all dependencies from there. So IV setting, again, it's up to your individual interest whether you want to go deeper or not, but it's not required at the moment. You can just, so this is subfloor is another configuration file related to IV, and you are configuring your jars and other dependencies, and in fact those tasks install and clean are captured there. So here it has built. It is saying failed because it is not getting JUnit. Let's ignore for now. You can fix it by adding JUnit jar file. But other than JUnit, it has completed the stuff. We can build using. So we want now var. So we can say ant and var. So it will. Okay, it's a typo. Sorry for that. It's ant var, and it will create var file. So it is module3.var is ready, and this you have to copy it in your Tomcat folder. So you'll have to make sure Tomcat is also in place. So I have typically keep all my stuff here, and under web apps you can deploy it. So I have already copied it. Once you have copied, so even at runtime when you copy it, it will deploy it at runtime and it will explode it in module 3 folder. Now how do you install, access it? So you just go to localhost 8080 just to make sure your Tomcat is up and running. Okay, it is up and running. So you go to module 3. Now here there are two examples. First is plain example, airlines with their total flights. The first example. I'm opening in the new link, new tab. So you can see I'm passing in the request parameter. So output format is PDF, report name is example33. Now you can see at runtime it has taken PRPT template and also executed this PDF report by adding data from our MySQL database. Now you would be wondering how could it connect to database? So that database related configuration is already there in your example. So if you will go to var, and as I told you, there are two ways you can configure your JNDI connection on application server. Again, it is varying to server. Like if you are using WebLogic, there may be different approach, but the most common approach is you can embed your context.xml inside your meta app. So it is local to your web app, and this is where you can see it is being configured. So name is JDBC Open Flights auth. So we'll rely on container authentication. Then this is types. All JNDI related parameters which we have seen here. So all those are added here. So you don't need to worry about that because it's already been taken care of in the example, but it is worth checking how it has been configured. Now this was the first example. Second example we'll see quickly. Okay, China, and we will run, and this report got generated for China. So this is just to demonstrate how you are passing parameter from HTML to your application server to Servlet, and through Servlet to your report. So this report is generated only for China. So you can see this header line is repeating. So even for header line, there is a parameter, there is a setting, repeat header. In page, not page behavior. Okay, actually it should have been detail header, and in detail header, yeah, repeat header. If you will select to true, then this will be repeating. So in our previous example, we didn't select that. That's why it was not repeating. But now once you select it, you will see on the next page that will be repeating. So that's how this embedded reporting using API is working. So now, so these are the steps given. You'll have to first do and build, then and compile, and then and var.